President Trump slammed his former attorney, Michael Cohen, over the weekend for taping a conversation the two had about a payment intended to suppress Playboy model Karen McDougal from speaking out about an alleged 2006 affair with Mr. Trump.
On Saturday, the president tweeted that it's, quote, inconceivable that a lawyer would tape a client, totally unheard of and perhaps illegal. The good news is that your favorite president did nothing wrong. The president's current attorney, Rudy Giuliani, says that while Mr. Trump did discuss a payment with Cohen, no payment was ever actually made. And so he believes that the president didn't do anything wrong.
All right. Well, CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman is with us now to talk a little bit about this. Rikki, is the president right? Should this be illegal or is it illegal?
It is not illegal if you are in a one-party consent state. And what that means is that if there are two parties to a conversation, only one needs to know about recording the conversation. So it's not illegal. However, there may be a question of ethics here when you look at an attorney actually taping a client without the client knowing. How does an attorney remember all the conversations that he has with a client? One of the ways he remembers or she remembers is through their own mind. The other way is to write a memorandum to the file. And the third way would be to tape the conversation, which I do think, to quote the president, is unheard of, but perhaps some lawyers do it with their client's consent. I certainly don't think it's appropriate that, though it has no legal consequences, I don't think it's appropriate to tape your own client without his or her consent. But there may have been a reason that he wanted to preserve the conversation, but I certainly don't think it was about the attorney-client privilege.
Well, that's the question that a lot of people are going to have. If it is perhaps not necessarily unheard of, but not common, what reason would Mr. Cohen have to tape conversations with the president and perhaps even prior to the presidency when he was just a New York private citizen?
Well, we're told that Michael Cohen taped a lot of conversations. And so Michael Cohen may have had a feeling that if it ever came to his word against someone else's word, that he was an overly cautious individual, depending on the people with whom he dealt over the years, that he wanted proof positive. You also have to remember here, we don't know the exact contents of that conversation because we have not seen a transcript of it. But we are led to believe by Rudy Giuliani, who has effectively completely waived any attorney-client privilege by discussing the content of the conversation, that we're led to believe that there was a discussion about paying either Karen McDougal to silence her or, and we don't know the facts, or perhaps to get the story away from American media, which is the National Enquirer or David Pecker, meaning to pay for her rights to the story so that they owned it. Rudy Giuliani says there was discussion about Mr. Trump saying that he would give Mr. Cohen a check so that it would be, quote unquote, proper. Well, maybe Mr. Cohen wanted to protect himself that he got repaid.
Well, you know, what's intriguing is it's surprising that the president would tweet that Michael Cohen taped him, because the president oftentimes alludes to tape conversations that he has. In other words, he'll say, you know, perhaps there are tapes.
Right.
Lordy,
I hope there are tapes.
James Comey
Right,
famously
James Comey.
saying that during the Senate hearings. So it's surprising to me that the president would be surprised himself that Michael Cohen has taped the conversation.
Well, there is something that does make you queasy about a lawyer. It would be like the priest-penitent privilege,
right,
the psychotherapist-patient privilege. Why would you ever think that a confidential conversation was going to be taped? Now, one of the other things that we can't forget is that we don't know if Michael Cohen was acting in his capacity as a lawyer here. Michael Cohen has always liked to say that he was a fixer, a la Ray Donovan, which you know is one of my favorite Michael Cohen isms because Ray Donovan goes around with a baseball bat. Then I've always thought the better fixer analogy would have been Michael Clayton, but nevertheless.
Or Roy Cohen, which is the true life historical figure.
That's exactly right, and someone who has been a model for certain people. So if he's in his capacity as a fixer, that conversation is not privileged. There were a vast amount, in fact, hundreds of thousands of documents that were seized from Michael Cohen's offices and home and hotel. Of these, the special master reviewed the hundreds of thousands, and only a very small percentage of them was considered privilege. We don't even know if this conversation with then candidate Trump and Michael Cohen was in the privilege pile or the non-privilege pile.
That's what I thought, because I know that's the argument back and forth. Were you operating as an attorney or were you not? I'm sure if there were other tapes, it will clear up each individual conversation, whether or not he was acting as an attorney or just a pal. Rikki Klieman, thank you.